My name is Lisa, a 45-year-old executive known for my sharp mind in the corporate world. My life, at a glance, appears enviable. A successful career, a beautiful home, and a family. But appearances can be deceptive. My husband, Mark, a gentle soul and a gifted graphic designer, has been my companion for over 2 decades. Our teenage daughter, Emily, is a bright spark in our lives. Yet, there's an undeniable void, a lack of excitement that once fueled my younger years. On a crisp autumn evening, I attended a corporate event that promised nothing more than the usual networking. That was until I met Alex. He walked into the room with an air of confidence that demanded attention. Alex, a wealthy businessman with a magnetic presence, was instantly captivating. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, his wit matching my own. We talked about the latest trends in technology, the stock market, and our mutual love for Italian cuisine. His knowledge and passion were refreshing, a stark contrast to my conversations at home that revolved around mundane routines. As the evening drew to a close, Alex suggested we meet again for a more in-depth discussion on a potential collaboration. The idea of working with someone as dynamic as Alex was thrilling. I agreed without hesitation, a decision that marked the beginning of a chapter I never anticipated writing. I returned home that night, my mind replaying our conversation. The encounter with Alex lingered in my thoughts, overshadowing the quiet comfort of my domestic life. It wasn't just his business acumen that intrigued me. It was the way he made me feel alive, something I hadn't felt in a long time. In the days that followed, Alex and I exchanged messages about work, but soon, our conversations became more personal. He had this uncanny ability to understand me, to see the ambitious woman behind the corporate facade. I justified my growing closeness with Alex as a harmless diversion. After all, my marriage with Mark, though lacking excitement, was stable. But deep down, I knew I was treading a dangerous path, one that could disrupt the calm waters of my life. As I lay awake one night, I realized that my life, with all its accomplishments, had become predictable. The thrill of the unknown, the allure of a new connection with Alex, was tempting, almost irresistible. And so, I found myself drawn into a world far removed from the security of my family life. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything I thought I knew about myself and the choices I make. Weeks passed since my first encounter with Alex, and with each meeting, our connection deepened. We were no longer just business associates, there was an undeniable chemistry between us. Our conversations, once dominated by work, now ventured into personal territories. It was exhilarating, a feeling I hadn't experienced in years. I started seeing Alex outside of work. We would meet for coffee, under the guise of discussing business strategies, but our talks were far from corporate. The more time I spent with him, the more I found myself drawn to his world, a world so different from my own. Our secret rendezvous became a regular occurrence. I was cautious, always careful to keep this hidden from Mark and Emily. I convinced myself that this affair was just a temporary escape, a brief detour from my otherwise uneventful life. Mark, ever so trusting and absorbed in his own world of art and design, didn't notice the changes in me. I continued to play the role of a devoted wife and mother, all the while my thoughts were increasingly occupied by Alex. The affair was a thrill, a rush of adrenaline that I hadn't felt in a long time. Alex was unpredictable, spontaneous, and everything that Mark wasn't. With him, I felt a sense of adventure, a spark that had been missing in my life. Our secret meetings became more daring, more frequent. We would find excuses to see each other, each encounter more intense than the last. I was living a double life, and the thrill of it all was intoxicating. But with every secret meeting, a sense of guilt crept in. I would return home to Mark and Emily, feeling like an imposter in my own life. Yet, the pull towards Alex was too strong, and I found myself justifying my actions, telling myself that no one was getting hurt. As the affair continued, I began to entertain the idea of a life with Alex. He was everything I thought I wanted, successful, exciting, and passionate. I started to imagine a future where I could be with him openly, free from the constraints of my current life. This fantasy of a new life with Alex began to consume me. I found myself growing distant from Mark, our conversations becoming more superficial. I was physically present but emotionally absent. My family life, once my anchor, now felt like a burden, holding me back from the life I envisioned with Alex. In a moment of recklessness, I decided to take the plunge. I convinced myself that Alex was the key to the happiness I had been missing. I was about to make a choice that would alter the course of my life in ways I couldn't have imagined. And so, I stepped further into the unknown, blinded by the illusion of a perfect swap, unaware of the storm that was brewing on the horizon. The day I decided to leave Mark for Alex is etched in my memory. It was a decision fueled by the fantasy of a life filled with the excitement and passion Alex brought into my world. I was ready to turn that fantasy into reality, convinced that Alex and I were meant to be together. I planned to tell Mark everything, to end our marriage that had become more of a routine than a relationship. But before taking that final step, I wanted to be certain of Alex's commitment to me. Meeting Alex that day, I was a mix of nerves and excitement, ready to embark on this new chapter of my life. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. As I broached the subject of us being together openly, Alex's reaction was not what I had anticipated. He hesitated, his usual confident demeanor faltering. Then came the words that shattered my world. Alex had no intention of leaving his partner. Partner? The word echoed in my mind. I hadn't even known he was in a serious relationship. In this moment, as my world was turning upside down, I realized the gravity of my choices. If you're captivated by this story of unexpected turns, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of life's unpredictable journey. I stood there, feeling foolish and betrayed. Alex explained that our affair was just a temporary escape for him, a way to add some excitement to his life. He had no plans to change his current situation. I was just a part of his adventure, nothing more. The realization hit me hard. I had been living in a fantasy, blind to the reality of our situation. I had risked everything for a man who saw me as nothing more than a diversion. In that moment of clarity, I felt a sense of panic. I had been so close to destroying my family for a mirage. The thought of losing Mark and Emily, who had been my constant support, filled me with dread. I left Alex, my mind racing with what to do next. I couldn't go through with telling Mark about the affair now, not when my world had just come crashing down. I needed to act as if nothing had happened, to return to my life and try to pick up the pieces. So, I went home, putting on a facade of normalcy. I greeted Mark and Emily with a smile, hiding the turmoil inside me. I acted as if the day was just like any other, suppressing the guilt and confusion that threatened to overwhelm me. But life had a different plan. The very next day, Alex's partner, a figure well known in our community, confronted me. My secret was out, and with it, the life I had known began to unravel. I had reached a turning point, and there was no going back. The consequences of my actions were about to unfold in ways I never imagined. Returning to my life with Mark and Emily, I felt like a stranger in my own home. The facade of normalcy was a heavy mask to wear. Every smile, every conversation, felt like an act. I was living a lie, a secret life hidden beneath the surface of a seemingly perfect family. The confrontation with Alex's partner had left me reeling. My affair, once a thrilling escape, had become my biggest regret. The fear of losing my family overshadowed every thought. I had to maintain the illusion that everything was fine, that I was the same wife and mother I had always been. But maintaining this facade was exhausting. Mark, with his gentle and observant nature, started to sense that something was off. His concerned glances and quiet inquiries about my well-being only added to my burden of guilt. I reassured him with half-hearted excuses about work stress, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. I tried to rekindle the connection with Mark, to make up for the time and attention I had given to Alex. We went on dates, spent evenings together, but the spark that once ignited our relationship seemed to have dimmed. I was going through the motions, hoping to reignite a flame that had been neglected for too long. My relationship with Emily also suffered. She was growing up fast, and I realized how much of her life I had missed while being lost in my affair. I tried to be more present, to attend her school events and engage in her interests, but there was a distance between us that hadn't been there before. In the midst of trying to salvage my family life, my professional world started to crumble. The scandal of my affair with Alex, now known in our tight-knit community, had reached my workplace. Colleagues who once respected me began to look at me with a mix of pity and disdain. My position as a top executive was now under scrutiny, my personal life overshadowing my professional achievements. Every day, I walked into the office feeling like a shadow of my former self. The confident, decisive leader was now a woman shrouded in scandal. My contributions were questioned, my decisions second-guessed. The career I had worked so hard to build was slipping through my fingers. As the days turned into weeks, the weight of my actions bore down on me. The life I had so carefully constructed was falling apart, piece by piece. My affair with Alex, which had once seemed like a path to happiness, was now a source of endless pain and regret. I clung to the hope that I could fix things, that I could turn back time and make different choices. But the reality was harsh and unforgiving. My actions had set in motion a chain of events that I could no longer control. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Mark discovered the truth about my affair with Alex. The revelation came crashing down, shattering the fragile semblance of normalcy I had been struggling to maintain. The day Mark discovered the truth about my affair with Alex was a day of reckoning. The look of betrayal and pain in his eyes was something I'll never forget. The secret I had been desperately trying to keep hidden was now out in the open, and with it came the collapse of the life we had built together. Mark confronted me, his voice a mix of anger and disbelief. He asked how I could betray our family, our years of togetherness. I had no words to justify my actions, no excuses that could mend the heartbreak I had caused. The truth, stark and undeniable, hung heavily between us. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Mark, unable to cope with the betrayal, decided that our marriage was beyond repair. He talked of separation, of starting anew. The thought of losing him, of breaking our family apart, filled me with a profound sense of loss and regret. In the midst of our personal turmoil, Alex's partner, a well-respected figure in the community, made our affair public. She revealed the details of our relationship, painting me as the villain in their narrative. The scandal spread like wildfire, tainting not just my personal life, but my professional reputation as well. At work, I faced the consequences of my actions head-on. Colleagues who had once admired me now whispered behind closed doors. My leadership was questioned, my role in the company debated. The career I had worked so hard to build was now overshadowed by the scandal of my personal life. In the community, I became the subject of gossip and judgment. Friends who I thought would stand by me turned their backs, unwilling to associate with the scandal I had brought upon myself. I was isolated, both professionally and socially, a pariah in the world I once dominated. The hardest part was facing my daughter, Emily. She was old enough to understand the whispers, the looks of pity and judgment from those around us. I saw the confusion and hurt in her eyes, the struggle to reconcile the mother she knew with the person the world was portraying me to be. I had lost the trust and respect of the two people who meant the most to me. Mark, the man I had shared my life with, and Emily, our daughter, who we had raised together. The pain of their disappointment was a constant reminder of the price of my choices. The confrontation with the reality of my actions forced me to reflect on the path I had chosen. The affair with Alex, once a source of excitement and escape, had led me to a place of loss and desolation. I had risked everything for a fleeting moment of happiness, only to be left with the broken pieces of my life. As I grappled with the consequences of my actions, I realized that the journey ahead would be one of redemption and rebuilding. It was time to face the truth, to own up to my mistakes, and to find a way to move forward, no matter how difficult the path might be. In the aftermath of the confrontation, my world was unrecognizable. The life I had known, a successful career, a loving family, a respected position in the community, had crumbled around me. Left in its wake was a stark reality, a life fragmented by my own doing. Mark moved out shortly after, taking Emily with him. Our home, once filled with laughter and warmth, now echoed with silence and memories of a past life. The absence of my family was a constant reminder of the void I had created. In the following weeks, I went through the motions of my daily life, but everything felt hollow. My work, which had always been a source of pride and fulfillment, now felt like a chore. My colleagues' respect, once freely given, had turned to skepticism and wariness. I sought solace in solitude, reflecting on the choices that led me here. The affair with Alex, which I had foolishly believed could bring me happiness, was nothing but a mirage. It had blinded me to the treasures I already possessed, a devoted husband and a loving daughter. Regret became my constant companion. I replayed the moments, the decisions, wishing I had chosen differently. The realization that I had sacrificed my family for a fleeting passion was a bitter pill to swallow. My relationship with Emily suffered the most. She was old enough to understand the intricacies of the situation, and the disappointment she felt in me was evident. I tried to reach out, to explain, to apologize, but the damage was done. The bond we shared was strained, marred by my actions. Professionally, I faced an uphill battle. The scandal had tainted my reputation, and rebuilding trust with my colleagues and clients was a daunting task. I worked tirelessly, trying to prove that my personal failings did not define my professional capabilities. As the days turned into months, I began the slow process of rebuilding my life. I sought counseling, both for my personal guilt and to navigate the complexities of a separation. I focused on self-improvement, on being a better person than I had been. Through this journey of self-discovery, I learned harsh but valuable lessons. I understood the importance of integrity, both in personal and professional relationships. I learned that happiness cannot be found in the arms of another, but must be cultivated within oneself and one's existing relationships. I held on to the hope that, in time, I could mend the relationship with my daughter and maybe, just maybe, find forgiveness in the eyes of those I had hurt. As I reflect on this chapter of my life, I share my story not as a tale of victimhood, but as a cautionary tale. A reminder that the choices we make have consequences, and sometimes, those consequences are irrevocable. As you follow this story, I extend a heartfelt request for your support. By liking, sharing, and subscribing, you not only acknowledge the value of the stories shared here but also contribute to a community that values honesty, introspection, and the power of storytelling. Your engagement is more than just a metric. It's a testament to the importance of sharing our human experiences, the good and the bad. It's a support for a platform where stories like mine, and perhaps like yours, can be told without judgment, offering lessons, hope, and sometimes, a path to healing. So, I ask you to continue supporting us. Your likes, shares, and subscriptions enable us to keep bringing these stories to light, to continue creating content that touches hearts, provokes thought, and perhaps, leads to positive change in our lives. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Your support means the world to us, and together, we can continue to explore the myriad facets of life through the powerful medium of storytelling. Remember, every story has something to teach us. Let's keep listening, keep sharing, and keep growing.